that he didn't let his anger push him into a rage. See, you got to be angry and sin not. Spirit of God, help me teach, and then I'm going to close. You can't let your anger push you into a place where you are ineffective. Notice, if you will, the word says in verse 6, he said, I became angry. And then the word says he thought about it. Do you see that? Look at that verse 6. He says, I thought about it. Yes, because, yes, James tells us in James chapter 1, verses 18 and 19, therefore, my beloved brothers, be slow to anger, slow to speak, swift to hear. I mean, close your mouth and open your ears. Because the wrath of man can never work the righteousness of God. Being angry will never solve the problem. Anger will only exacerbate the issue. That's one of the challenges I have with my brothers and my sisters with the various neighborhood sets and organizations. I refuse to call them gangs. I call them neighborhood organizations. Of course, they're not as benign as the Boy Scouts and the Cub Scouts, but there are some historical realities in terms of how they've been infiltrated and how they've been given drugs and guns from other parts of the world, and they don't build them. They are imported and dropped right in our neighborhoods and communities. I ain't saying no more. But one of the things I challenge them about is the fact that to be angry at another brother who looks just like you, or another brother who doesn't look like you but is in the same condition you're in, and to kill each other is a contradiction in terms, and is one of the irreconcilable contradictions that absolutely is ridiculous in this day and time. That we are the ones killing, God help me, each other. But it takes somebody to speak up. But anger does not solve the issue. One brother going out and hitting another brother, another one in retaliation hitting another brother. When does it end? It stops when we take a minute and think. Think about who's the ones who are dying. Think about who the ones who are going to lose out. Think about who are the ones who will gain when we lose. Think about who are the ones that we are actually hurting. Think about our families that we're leaving behind. Think about our children who won't have a father or a mother because they're either incarcerated or buried. Think about the fact that we are the ones killing our own selves. And when you take time to think, when you think, you will discover options and ways to engage in organized and sustainable and strategic action. Here Nehemiah, whose name again means comfort, and to comfort means to strengthen. He determines that he needs to strengthen a fragmented community that is divided on the basis of class, yes, and economics, if you will. And so he says, the word says that he decided he had to say something. Because when you shift into your passion, you can't just say something, but you got to speak to it. God help me. And as you speak to it, you got to be planned in the way that you approach it. Amen. And so I want to challenge those of us who know that God has called us into some aspect of public service, whether it is to open a house for women who are just recently released from prison, or sisters who have an addiction, or who are fighting and overcoming a drug addiction, or brothers who are trying to overcome a past of mistakes, or to help children to gain a different way of expressing themselves other than the destructiveness we see within our communities. There has to be an organized way of proceeding forward. I'm saying this last thing as I get ready to close here. That Nehemiah recognized that he had to speak up, but that he couldn't do it by himself. And I'm closing by suggesting this to you, that God has called all of us together at this point in our lives to help each other with each other's dreams and passion. That as gifted and as talented as Michael Vick is, he could never throw the way he throws, or scramble the way he scrambles, or be able to win and run the way he runs, if defensive team with him, if he did not have teammates that could assist him in blocking for him, or those who would be gifted in receiving the passes that he throws. In other words, we need one another. We must have the capacity to work together. And as you look to your right and to your left, you've got to recognize that we didn't just come to church today just to come and clap our hands. That we all have been called together by God to effectuate a work in this day and time. That there is a purpose for our coming together. That there is a meaning for us meeting each other. And I don't know what you feel or think is that purpose, but I encourage and invite you to shift into your purpose. And as you go, God will show you what to do. Is there anybody in here who feels what God is saying today is knowing that God has told you that this is the message for your spirit? I'm closing by suggesting this to you today, that in the book of Test Your Dreams, written by James Maxwell, he talks about how when you move into your passion and pursue your dream, that you want to recognize that God will place people to help you fulfill your dream within your particular environment. And as you move forward, they will help and encourage the dream by bringing their own gifts and talents. And so I say to you today, expect that people will come up to you and know how to support your vision.